Okay, so back to the PlayStation 2 Collectathon Marathon, which of course takes us to Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I think for the most part, this is a forgotten series, but I do know it has its dedicated fans. Now, I know the game was well advertised when it was first coming out, but I never saw these when I was a kid. No, I wasn't introduced to this series till much later when I was looking for some Collectathon games for my PlayStation 2. Well, let's take a look at the game, shall we? Okay, so the story isn't anything super special. Our titular character, Ty, is running around till he falls down a hole and runs into a bunyip. The bunyip elder tells Ty about an evil cassowary who wants to steal these talismans that will let him take control over Australia. And it turns out this evil cassowary, named Boss Cass, has also sealed away Ty's family. So from there, Ty sets out to retrieve these talismans and to save his family. See, real simple setup. And I think it's fine. It works, gets a series set up, and helps introduce you to these characters and world. There are some fun characters Ty will meet, like a platypus couple, a Tasmanian devil ranger, a koala scientist, and a lyrebird. The fun part for me about these characters is seeing what animals they will be. Australia has really cool wildlife, so I find it neat seeing them in this game. This is the only reason I remember these characters, as personality-wise, they are pretty generic, but you know, it's not bad. So yeah, the story is just fine. So, as you can imagine, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is a collectathon. We have a rather large hub world that connects you to the other levels. Within this hub world, you can also find some rainbow scales that will increase your health once all of them have been acquired. As soon as you start exploring the hub world, you'll immediately notice an issue this game has. Ty's controls are a bit off, jumping isn't quite as well responsive, gliding is awkward, and Ty's basic movement is surprisingly fast. It takes time to get used to, but his controls really could have used some more attention to smooth things out. Okay, let's talk about these levels that you will travel to throughout the hub world. First, oddly enough, the last few levels of the game are linear style platforming ones, with no collectibles. It's just kind of an odd choice, but the levels themselves are pretty decent and somewhat enjoyable. There are also boss fights in the game, and they're just okay. It's the final boss I found annoying towards the end of the fight. Anyway, the rest of the levels are more open for Ty to explore, with objects for him to collect via fulfilling a task for someone or doing some platforming to reach them. Unfortunately, the levels are too big, making it take forever to get from one end to the other with very little in between to differentiate each area of the level. It's not awful, but a few of the levels really could have been smaller to not make things like collecting all the opals feel so tedious. So what does Ty collect anyway? Well, the big main item to collect are thunder eggs. Some thunder eggs can simply be found lying around in the level, but others can be obtained by fulfilling tasks within the level. Some of these tasks will range from things like saving a bunch of koala kids, getting bats out of a cave, or reaching a high mountain. But at the same time, in every one of these levels, there are two tasks you will always find. The first is collecting all the opals will reward you with a thunder egg, and the second is by finding all the bilbies. Thankfully, at the pause screen, you can see a list of all these tasks and a map of the level that can show you areas of interest. Otherwise, you can find these hidden pictures, which just unlock some extra stuff in the gallery. But another important item would be the golden cogs. If you're able to find so many of these, you can earn some new boomerangs. This is by far the best part of the game. You can eventually earn elemental boomerangs like fire and ice, or some that have a longer reach, and others that can even let you see those hidden pictures I had mentioned before. It's fun since you can use elemental rings to get past certain obstacles, and thankfully boomerangs have a slight homing shot to them and can be thrown rather quickly, so as long as you're facing the enemy, you're bound to hit them. Ty has one weird skill that is used from time to time in the game, and that is his chain biting, used on these weird flying robot things. Think of it kinda like Sonic's homing attack that can be chained to reach higher areas, cause that's what the biting is used for here in the game. And you know, it works fine, it's just kind of awkward. You can also use biting to take out enemies, but it's not as useful as boomerangs. There is one level where you are riding around on this large boar, and it's probably my least favorite since I don't find it interesting or enjoyable running around on this thing. Plus the tasks in that level aren't all that great, and the level itself doesn't have have that good of a layout. Otherwise, I do enjoy some of the platforming in this game. And some levels are really cool to explore, like the snow one, where there is also this sawmill-like area. Using your boomerangs to hit buttons or knock down objects is fun, and it makes Ty's boomerangs much more than just weapons to fight off enemies. Heck, swimming underwater isn't too bad, and I do enjoy exploring the underwater sections in this game. Oh yeah, and there are also these checkpoints in levels where you'll respawn if you happen to die, but I didn't tend to die too often in this game. Though another issue I have with the levels is that there's very little in the way of shortcuts, so backtracking is way more tedious than it needs to be and isn't very fun. I do like the cartoony character design, like the frilled lizard enemies, and the environments are decent. Super simplistic, yeah, but at least the hub area really feels like an Australian-based location. It's just, the character models are kinda ugly. They could have been smoothed out more and used some better animations. Plus, some of the levels really don't differentiate from each other much, like the 2 beach levels, which is disappointing, especially since one of them is based off the Great Barrier Reef. I will say that I do love seeing a bunch of little wildlife running around in these levels, like eels and fish in the beach levels, and birds in the forest levels. It's a nice touch. The voice acting is fine. You might get a bit annoyed with the attempt to Australian accents and slang. The music does its job. I think the themes that used didgeridoos fit the game's location the best, obviously. It's really not that bad of a soundtrack. I like some of the upbeat tunes, and themes like 2 Up and Shipwrecks are pretty iconic for me. In the end, yeah, Ty has some issues. The controls for jumping and gliding are a bit off. Levels can be too large and lack some better focus. And the character models and environments could have been improved. But at the same time, there is some enjoyment here. I like getting different boomerangs and using them to get past obstacles, and the game offers a good enough collectathon experience. It's nothing amazing, but I still remember the game and had a decent time with it. If you're really into collectathons, then I say give it a shot. It's not too long, and there are some fun moments. I personally really love the idea of a collectathon game taking place in Australia, so I would like to see the concept revisited sometime. I have played the second Ty, but I didn't care much for it. The game is no longer a collectathon, and honestly, I can't remember much from my playthrough except for some long driving in an open world, and some moments with a robot that I didn't enjoy. So because of that, I haven't played the third one. But to me, that's okay. I actually kinda like Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, and it's a game that I would go back to from time to time. Just rarely. At the very least, I think it's better than Scalar. Well, next up, I think we'll take a look at a game that stands out in the collectathon genre on the PlayStation 2.